Welcome to the 2024 Summit on Sustainability. Please welcome to the stage Jessica Kinsley, Chief Regional Planning Officer and Senior Director of Planning at the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission.
Good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to welcome you to the 2024 Summit on Sustainability. I'm Jessica Kinsley, Chief Regional Planning Officer and Senior Director of Planning for the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, also known as MORPC. On behalf of our board, our incredible team, and the nearly 90 local governments and regional organizations that make up MORPC, I want to thank you for joining us today. It is sure to be an exciting event. This is our biggest summit yet, with more than 650 of your colleagues and friends in attendance. We have an exceptional program lined up featuring outstanding speakers and a range of engaging breakout sessions. My hope is that today's program sparks fresh ideas, fosters greater collaboration, and inspires us to take bold action toward a better future. Sustainability practices and technologies are advancing quickly. From electric vehicles and renewable energy sources like water, wind, and solar, to cutting-edge methods for recycling materials and capturing water for reuse. Our team at MORPC has dedicated significant effort to creating today's agenda, which includes 15 breakout sessions, 2 plenary sessions, and Pecha Kucha presentations, a rapid-fire format that is sure to energize and inspire. We hope the program motivates each of you to keep innovating and adopting the best practices in sustainability so that Central Ohio remains a forward-thinking and resilient region. Before we dive in, I want to recognize and thank the organizations that have made the summit possible. Their generous support is critical to our success. First, a special thank you to our presenting sponsor, NOPEC, for their generosity, and to our connecting sponsors, CODA, Ohio EPA, Ohio University, and The Ohio State University. We truly appreciate your partnership. We're also grateful to all of our other sponsors and exhibitors who are helping make this event a success. Please join me in giving them a well-deserved round of applause as they are recognized on the screens. And now, let's kick off the summit by recognizing some exceptional leaders who have demonstrated outstanding commitment to sustainability with our Regional Sustainability Awards. Please join me in welcoming our Chair of the Sustainability Advisory Committee, Mayor Ben Kessler of Bexley, our Vice Chair, Mayor Lori Jadwin of Gahanna, and MORPC's own Chief Mobility and Infrastructure Officer and Senior Director of Programming, Parag Agrawal.
Thank you, Jessica. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ben Kessler, Mayor with the City of Bexley, Chair of one of MORPC's finest committees, the Sustainability Advisory Committee, and Secretary of the Board with MORPC. So excited to have you here this morning. This event is like our Super Bowl for sustainability at MORPC. It's like our Taylor Swift Eras Tour. Am I right? Exactly like it, right? What could possibly be different? We did. We sold out. And there's people scalping tickets out on the curb. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's an honor to be here today and to present the Leadership in Sustainability Award, which recognizes an individual or an organization demonstrating exceptional leadership and innovation in creating comprehensive sustainability solutions. These solutions help to tackle some of the most pressing challenges that our region faces. And so it's with great pleasure that we announce that this year's recipient of the Leadership in Sustainability Award is Christy Hawthorne from the Licking County Soil and Water Conservation District. Christy, please join us on stage.
because of her strong dedication to protecting natural resources, and she gets things done.
She's become sort of an authority, someone that we as county commissioners can rely on for good information, and sometimes good information is hard to come by.
She leads by listening, and she leads by learning and helping us facilitate all the ideas that everyone in the office has.
In a county that's really experiencing a lot of rapid growth and land use changes, I think Christy has been front and center as an advocate for natural resource preservation.
Getting a watershed plan put together and updated from the 1980s is our goal, and she has been in the forefront helping us achieve that goal.
Outside of the agricultural building was a giant Bradford pear. It's an invasive species. They're no longer allowed to be sold in Ohio. And she said, is there a way we can cut that tree down and put something else out there? It's right in front of our building. And it was interesting. I got to thinking about it. I said, Christy, let's do it and let's have some fun with it.
As soon as the announcement came out about Intel coming to Licking County, she was right there front and center, having conversations with stakeholders, with partners, about the importance of natural resource preservation and responsible land management so that we can ensure that we benefit from all the opportunities in Licking County and have a high quality of life for all residents in Licking County and beyond.
Congratulations, Christy, again. Good morning. I am Laurie Jadwin. I'm the mayor of the city of Gahanna. Parag and I decided, Ben, that we are not dancing if this is the Eras Tour version. So we'll look to you to lead I also serve as vice chair of the Sustainability Advisory Committee along with Mayor Kessler. I am thrilled to present the Collaborative Achievement in Sustainability Award. This award recognizes individuals or organizations that have demonstrated effective collaboration in achieving environmental goals, yielding meaningful results, innovation, and lasting impacts in Central Ohio. This year's award goes to the Trailtown Working Group, whose collaborative efforts have made a significant difference in our region's sustainability journey. And now I'd like to invite the co-chairs of that Trailtown Working Group, Laura Ball from City of Westerville, and my good friend, Carrie Kaufman of Experience Columbus, to the stage to accept this award.
Central Ohio Greenways is a network of nearly 300 miles of trails, inviting people to explore nature, commute, and enjoy recreation throughout Central Ohio. This expansive network connects diverse communities, urban, suburban, and rural areas, linking them to parks, rivers, and green spaces, fostering a deeper connection to the outdoors. They offer trail amenities, support local businesses, and play a vital role in promoting economic development, mental and physical wellness, and environmental stewardship. With historic levels of funding from federal, state, and local governments, the vision of a fully connected Central Ohio Greenways network, featuring over 700 miles of trails, is closer than ever. The Central Ohio Greenways Trailtown Working Group is focused on leveraging these communities and our trail system to promote a culture of walking and biking, while celebrating the unique identities of each community. Along the Ohio to Erie Trail, communities such as Mount Vernon, Centerburg, Sunbury, Westerville, Columbus, Bexley, London, and Easton Town Center have collaborated to bring this vision to life. This work is transforming how our region connects to nature and to each other for generations to come. Today, even more communities from every corner of Central Ohio, regardless of size and background, are coming together to advance the Trailtown framework. Congratulations to the Central Ohio Greenways Trailtown Working Group, recipient of the 2024 Collaborative Achievement in Sustainability Award. Their efforts are a testament to the power of collaboration and shared vision.
Good morning, everyone, and congratulations to all the award winners. And a big thank you to Mayor Jadwin and Mayor Kessler for joining us here today at the summit. I'm Parag Agrawal, and I serve as the Chief Mobility and Infrastructure Officer and Senior Director at MOPSI. And I have the pleasure of presenting the Leadership in Mobility Award. This annual award is given in the memory of William Lewis Jr., the former Chief Mobility Engineer of City of Columbus. The Leadership in Mobility Award honors an individual who is committed in making an award-winning transportation system and a multimodal transportation system for the residents of Central Ohio. We are excited to announce that this year's Leadership in Mobility Award goes to Michael Andrango from the Franklin County Engineer's Office. Give a big hand of applause to Michael. Franklin County Engineer's Office is a big partner of MOPSI, and we look forward to working with you.
The first thing that comes to mind when I think about Mike is collaboration.
Mike is an expert at filling in gaps in our walking and biking network.
He's been the leader of the Central Ohio Greenways Board since 2022, and there he helps a group of the most enthusiastic, passionate experts deliver on the promise of 500 miles of trails in Central Ohio.
He's consistently looking for ways to introduce complete streets concepts on a variety of county projects.
A few years ago, Mike met with every village, township, city, every community in Franklin County. And he was able to help each community identify the actionable next step to make sure that we are working together as a region to build out this vision.
I think he's got the end game in mind and really trying to change the way people get around in Central Ohio, not just by car, but through walking and biking and doing so safely.
Mike brings engineering solutions to problems using a common sense approach.
He's the kind of leader who's willing to do the hard work to turn those ideas, those wishes, those dotted lines on the map into real projects that people can bike on and walk on.
Mike deserves the Leadership in Mobility Award because he brilliantly balances these visionary ideas with actionable next steps.
Congratulations again to all the Regional Sustainability Award recipients. I got it. This is hilarious. See that like younger version of me right there? This is a true story. That goofy smile on my face, that was taken like 5 or 6 years ago on the day of the MOPSI Sustainability Summit. That's why I have the goofy smile on my face, because I was so happy. I want to welcome to the stage Chuck Kuiper, Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director of NOPEC. I want to say NOPEC is doing some amazing things here in Ohio and beyond. I would like to thank them for being the 2024 Summit on Sustainability presenting sponsor. Chuck.
NOPEC is working to keep your natural gas and electric rates affordable. We are 240 Ohio communities using our collective strength to buy in bulk and pass the benefits along to you. Plus, we support local events, provide energy education for students, and offer energy-saving tips you can use. And as we continue to work together, you can count on NOPEC to consistently deliver for you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. Hope you liked the commercial. It was a lot of fun to make those, and we always look forward to what our next round is going to be like. But we've been around now for nearly 25 years. A little longer than this summit, so congratulations to MOPSI for having such a wonderful conference year in and year out, for your ongoing commitment, and for the work that your board and your staff do throughout the region. It's truly incredible stuff. My name is Chuck Kuiper. I'm the CEO of NOPEC, the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council. We are proud to be the presenting sponsor today. We want to really thank each of you for attending, for your commitment to sustainability, and to your commitment to your communities. It really does take a network of people consciously thinking, consciously moving forward together to change the realities that we want to have for our future. So thank you all. I want to talk for a second not only about something that's dear to my heart, but something that's really important for our future of our whole planet, and that is sustainability. As we move into the 21st century, the importance of environmental stewardship and sustainable development has never been more apparent or important. Today, I'm delighted to share with you just a couple of the ways that NOPEC is helping our communities to achieve their sustainability goals. As a Council of Governments, NOPEC provides energy-related services, including services as the energy aggregator to our communities, over 240 of them in 20 Ohio counties. At NOPEC, we believe that sustainability is not just a buzzword or a trend, it's a fundamental principle that underpins our entire operating system. Our commitment to sustainability is rooted in our recognition that the resources of our planet are finite and that it is our responsibility to use them wisely and efficiently. This commitment is reflected in every aspect of our business and everything we do, from the way we source our materials to the way we dispose of our own office waste. For nearly 25 years, NOPEC has been supporting sustainability initiatives in a very wide variety of ways. We've retired over 10 million Green E certified RECs for our communities. A percentage of every single dollar spent by NOPEC customers is set aside by our supply chain partner, NextEra Energy Resources, to be used exclusively to construct new utility-scaled renewable energy projects throughout North America, including Ohio. To date, nearly $100 million of funding from NOPEC customers has been deposited into the Earth Era Trust to be used for that purpose. So literally, every joule of electricity used by NOPEC customers helps to add new renewable projects to the grid. That was something very important to us when we bid our load, and having that additionality we think is important for tomorrow. NOPEC has become the largest grantor of funding for energy efficiency in the state of Ohio. $4.5 to $6 million per year in energy efficiency grants to NOPEC communities to assist with projects ranging from EV charging stations, backup generators, LED lighting, water control, and many other projects. In total, we have funded over $53 million in energy efficiency projects to our members in the past 20 years. And NOPEC has become a significant financer of small PACE loans and other conventional construction loans designed for energy efficiency. We have a $30 million loan pool that helps our local governments and our nearly 50,000 small business customers make energy-saving modifications to their places of business affordably, effectively, and efficiently. And NOPEC, of course, offers 100% green energy to those communities who desire that. But many of our communities aren't quite sure about the desire of their residents to pay just a little more for 100% green product. So NOPEC also offers 100% green electricity to each individual customer so that NOPEC customers have the choice to be more conscious steward if they choose to be. It is NOPEC's announced plan to continue to enhance our default percentage of REC content in our everyday electricity project customers for our customers so that they will be receiving a 50% REC-backed electricity product by the end of 2026. Incidentally, that is in line with the same time that the Ohio legislature, in its infinite wisdom, is scheduled to completely eliminate the clean portfolio standard requirement in this state. And finally, this year, we also announced that it is our own emission reduction target to reach net zero by 2050. Our supply chain partner, NextEra Energy, has an overall goal. They are the nation's largest utility, is what they call themselves, to be at real zero by 2045. We believe who you choose to partner with speaks volumes about your programming, about your desire, and about your own goal as an organization and as a community. Enough about NOPEC. There's a whole exciting day ahead of you, so thank you for letting me give you a couple of minute commercial. I appreciate that. It is now my very distinct pleasure to introduce Stephen Renner, Director of Franklin County Department of Sanitary Engineering, where he has led the planning and management of large-scale infrastructure environmental projects for the past 15 years. He has also served as a member of the City of Gahanna City Council for nearly 13 years, where he has championed policies that improve quality of life, emphasizing equity, environmental stewardship, and responsible governance. Stephen is also completing a master's degree in sustainability, resilience, and security through the Voinovich School of Leadership and Public Service at Ohio University, where he is the recipient of a 2024 Mark Weinberg Leadership Scholarship. So just a very accomplished individual. Please help me welcome Stephen to the stage. Stephen, where are you? Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Chuck, for that introduction. Well, good morning. It is my honor to speak with you today, especially as we celebrate the 50th anniversary at Ohio University's Environmental Studies program. For half a century, Ohio University has led the way in educating professionals committed to addressing the most pressing issues of our time. The Voinovich School of Leadership and Public Service is not quite that old, but the mission is simple: strengthen our communities and improve the lives for all Ohioans. For me, pursuing a master's degree in sustainability, resilience, and security has been nothing short of transformative. As director of the Franklin County Department of Sanitary Engineering, my day-to-day responsibilities involved developing essential infrastructure. And let's face it, building sewers isn't glamorous, and it's not the kind of things that's actually going to turn heads. But it's a foundational part of our public health, our community resilience, and our environmental stewardship, connecting the basics of a sustainable future for everyone in our region. The Voinovich program has expanded my skills far beyond the technical. It's given me a broader lens, one that integrates sustainability, security, and resilience into everything I do. I've learned to see each infrastructure project not as an isolated endeavor, but as part of a larger system affecting human and environmental well-being. The coursework has pushed me to think critically about how policies can better address the needs of vulnerable populations and how we can ensure that our systems are not only strong enough to withstand today's challenges, but are also adaptive for tomorrow's uncertainties. One of the most valuable perspectives I've gained is the interconnectedness of environmental issues. I've come to appreciate that a healthy, resilient community relies on the balance of economic, environmental, and social factors. This program has shown me how essential it is to foster connections with our communities, communicate complex challenges effectively, and pursue policies that are rooted in equity, inclusiveness, and adaptability. 50 years ago, this program began with a vision of educating leaders who could tackle the biggest environmental issues of the day. Today, in a world where challenges are even far greater, the Environmental Studies program through the Voinovich School continues to inspire and equip us to address them with confidence and commitment. I'm going to close with two quotes that deeply resonate with me. The first one is from a park bench, because park benches speak, along one of my favorite morning trails. Life's most amazing adventures are the ones you find following your heart. The second one comes from Madam C.J. Walker, an inspiring African-American entrepreneur and philanthropist who was the first self-made female millionaire. She said, "I want you to understand that your first duty is to humanity." Together, these quotes capture the essence of the Voinovich School of Leadership and Public Service, uniting our passions of environmentalism with our minds and grounding us in a commitment to serve and stay focused on the work that matters most. Thank you to the Voinovich School for this journey and to everyone who has supported this amazing work. Together, we're building a legacy that's not always glamorous, but undeniably essential for all. Ginny McAdams, Adam Mitchell, Elizabeth Mallett, I know you guys are out there. I am looking to you and so many others to please come join us at the Voinovich School. Please add your skill sets to the Voinovich School. It will take all of us to solve these very wicked issues. Here's to the next 50 years of making the sustainable, resilient, and secure future we all want to see. Thank you. Thank you. It's now my pleasure next to welcome up William Murdoch, Executive Director of MORPC, to the stage to kick off our morning panel discussion. This conversation will shine a spotlight on the important initiatives in growth, sustainability that regional councils across the nation are leading. Help me welcome to the stage Geraldine Gardner, Executive Director of the Centralina Regional Council, Chuck Wimple, Executive Director of the Houston-Galveston Area Council, and Lisa Beth Barraras, Executive Director of the Community Development with the Metropolitan Council of the Twin Cities. Let's give them all a very warm applause.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that kind introduction, and welcome everybody to the Summit on Sustainability. I'm William Murdoch, the Executive Director at the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, and I am so excited about today. Congratulations to our award winners again, Christy, Mike, the Trail Towns Initiatives. Thanks to our sponsor, NOPEC. Thank you to OU's Voinovich School and their sustainability work. I'm on their advisory board. It's really, really great work. Let's give them all a round of applause for kicking us off this morning. I'm so excited and a little bit nervous about this panel of colleagues to my left here. These are leaders from other regions around the country that are growing. And I know we all know that growth is top of mind here. And when we think about growth, we get worried about the challenges. This is a sustainability conference. We're worried about what is that going to do to the environment? How is this going to position us for climate and resilience? We also know it could be an opportunity to fix some past challenges or maybe preserve land better or be more sustainable. There's a lot of concern, a lot of franticness, but the good news is, yes, we're growing, but we're growing at a pace where we have just a little bit of time to learn from folks who are ahead of us and just a little bit of time to make sure we are doing the investments and the plans that we need to do today to get ready for that growth. And that's what today's panel's about. I'm so excited. These are brilliant leaders from Houston, from Charlotte, and from the Twin Cities, and we're going to get into conversation with them. So two of them, it's their first time in Central Ohio, so let's welcome them one more time. So welcome to Columbus.
Thanks, William.
We are so excited here. I think maybe we'll kind of warm up. I know it's morning. Let's have you each introduce yourself, your organization, and how did you get this job? What inspired you to be in this position? And we'll start with Geraldine.
I'm in the hot seat.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning, everyone. First of all, it's a delight to be here, and what a commitment to your region and your communities for all of you to fill this ballroom. So this is very inspiring for me. So I appreciate the opportunity to share a little experience about what we do in Charlotte. So I'm Geraldine Gardner. I'm the Executive Director of the Centralina Regional Council. We are a 9-county, 63-member organization that serves the greater Charlotte region. We're a little bit different than MORPC. I think every regional council and council of government kind of has their different portfolio and specialization. But we do regional planning, economic development, workforce development. We're the area agency on aging, so we deliver services to older adults. And we also do local government services. That's broadly our portfolio. We're a growing region, as we'll get into, so lots to talk about there. I'm an urban planner by background, and probably like many of you in the room, kind of went between economic development and housing and community development. And I also sort of went between different levels of influence. I worked at the local level in Washington, D.C. I worked on national and international issues. And to me, my heart is always at the local level. How can I be a change agent and support change agents around me? And after 20 plus years in Washington, D.C., don't hold it against me, it was time to get out. It was time to kind of get out of the bubble and hear more about what's happening across the country. And Charlotte was the right place for me and my family. So I think it's always a great thing when you can step into a leadership role and challenge yourself. And this job has definitely done that.
Well, welcome, welcome. Chuck?
Very good. William, thanks so much for the invitation to be here. Good morning, everybody. I'm Chuck Wemple. I'm the Executive Director at the Houston Galveston Area Council of Governments. We're located on the upper Texas coast, 13 counties, about 120 cities, 7.5 million people, some areas highly urban, suburban, and also rural as well too. And our agency, as Geraldine mentioned, we all do different things depending on what the needs are in our region. So we're the Transportation Planning Agency, we're the Workforce Development Board, Economic Development District, Area Agency on Aging, and other activities as well. Also rapidly growing, net gain of about 150,000 each year, so about 1.5 million or so every 10 years historically and into the future, it appears as well too. So lots of challenges there. How I came to this position, sometimes I still kind of wonder about it, because I started out as a geologist and I was doing environmental science and environmental remediation and cleanup. I ended up in the Houston area and I kept applying for these jobs at this place called the Houston Galveston Area Council, not jobs but projects, as a consultant, and I kept losing. Coming in second or third. And I said, maybe I should just go work for them. And they had a job open. So I started out there, worked my way into disaster recovery, economic development, and the executive director.
Oh, look where it led, look where it led.
Right.
Lisa.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be here and really appreciate the warm welcome from William and the rest of the MORPC staff. I'm Lisa Barajas. I'm the Executive Director of Community Development at the Metropolitan Council of the Twin Cities. The council is not a council of governments. It's actually a government entity in and of itself that has a 7-county jurisdiction. There are 181 cities and townships within that jurisdiction that we have a defined statutory relationship with in a number of ways. Our portfolio is a little bit different. In addition to being the regional planning agency, we're also the transportation planning agency for federal requirements. We're the regional wastewater provider, the regional transit provider. We also deliver Section 8 assistance for about a third of our region, in addition to 9 other public housing agencies in the region. And we plan for the regional parks and open space system in the region as well. In addition to planning for master water supply planning and surface water management across the 7-county metro. We have a very close relationship with local governments around planning, comprehensive planning, and our long-range planning, and have some regulatory relationships, but really a lot of our work is in providing technical assistance and creating a community of practice within the region around our shared goals and our vision for the region. I came to this job after a number of years in working in greater Minnesota. I come from an urban planning background with natural resource management as part of my education and my professional career. And then came to the council about 17 years ago, working through a variety of different roles as a staff planner and manager, and eventually in this role as executive director of my division. And I serve in that leadership role with 4 other executive directors that lead our transit, our wastewater divisions, and our overall, and our 2 other divisions at the council as well. Thank you.
Great. Well, I'm so excited to have you here, and I know each of you can appreciate this, but when you're in your own region and the people who taught you in school, used to employ you, your mentees, people who worked alongside you as volunteers are all in the room, you get a little bit excited because it's great. You all work with leaders in your regions. And Chuck, you mentioned, I'm going to come to you first, you mentioned 150,000 people a year.
Yeah.
And we're thinking here about 750,000 over the next 25. So my question for you is, how are your regions reacting to this at a leadership level? How are they talking? How are they feeling about it? And how do regional councils get in the middle of that?
Sure. So from a leadership perspective, it varies. The parts of our region that are grappling with it the most are the smaller communities on the edge of that rapid growth who see it coming. And sometimes it shows up like almost overnight, right? Or within a couple of months. And so really providing a space at our regional council for all of our members to come together, but a special set aside opportunity for entities that are on the fringe of rapid growth to come together and share their experiences and how they can deal with that. Some of them are incredibly excited. Some of them have had population growth of 300% in less than 5 years, right? So phenomenal production of building permits and everything. What does that look like? Does that change their character? Absolutely. What can they do to maintain that? So we have a variety of programs to help give them resources.
Yeah, now Geraldine, certainly Charlotte's at the top of these growth lists too. What's the feeling there?
Yeah, so our fun fact is 118 people a day move to the region. And we've seen since 2010 roughly about 19% growth, and the regional moment that brought our leaders together was about 15 years ago, when they saw the population projections that by 2045 our region's population will double. And Charlotte is a relatively kind of new place. There's history there, but in terms of how we have grown, there's a lot of new suburbs, new towns layered in with kind of historic mill villages and mill towns. So it's a very interesting pattern of historical growth, and the region was lucky to get a HUD Sustainable Communities Planning Grant, and that really was the opportunity for leaders to come together. And frankly, that plan was one of the reasons why I took this job, because as a planner, it really laid out a compelling vision for the future, a roadmap for how we were going to manage this growth. And I think where we have suffered and where there's been some growing pains and some learning pains is how do you implement this award-winning plan that lays out a clear vision for the future? And I think that's where we as a region are really trying to find our groove, so to speak, and figure out what is the right role for a regional council in a state that's highly sensitive to local control, we have a very diverse region politically, economically, and we have to be very careful about not kind of overstepping our role. We don't have an official kind of toolkit to use. So how do you lead from the middle or lead from behind and encourage leaders to be bold and find the right policy agenda for their communities that's in line with this regional vision? So that's really 10 years later, 10 years after this plan, we kind of did a reflection and looked at our indicators and looked at our numbers and looked at what's happened, and we weren't really happy with the results. And so for our organization, that sort of charted a new course for what we need to do next.
Can I just hop on before we get to Lisa? Great point, Geraldine, because something that we've seen, we also were a Sustainable Communities awardee. Actually allowed us to talk about transportation, housing, environment, healthy communities all at the same time. Usually our funding streams don't allow that type of cross conversation. So really important. And what we found in our region is those smaller communities where the growth is coming, the ones that said, no, we're not going to allow growth, we're going to close the gates, it came anyway. And then they didn't have any influence over what that looked like. Yep. And those who paused and said, it's coming, how can we embrace it and still figure out a way to preserve our feel and what's important to us, whether it's ecosystems or downtowns, have fared much better.
Yeah, so that role of collaboration, but getting in front of the growth so you can shape it and maybe preserve your character, maybe make it better. That's really important. Now Lisa, Midwestern partner here, what's growth like in the Twin Cities context?
We're actually really similar to Mid-Ohio. We're expecting about just under 700,000 new residents through the year 2050. We've been on a kind of slow and steady pace. Haven't really peaked, we haven't really troughed, and just kind of keep on trucking essentially. But it gives us this opportunity to really lean into our planning practice and to really think about how, as a region, we are all successful together, and that we, in this collaboration, and we have decades now of kind of forced collaboration through our statutory requirements, but have built this expectation of working together and figuring out how we are all going to benefit from the growth that is coming to this region, to our region. And that while we have this requirement under law to be doing this plan every 10 years, and local governments have to do that as well, that doesn't mean everyone's on board with it. There's a whole lot of communities who are like, I don't see what the value is in this. But when you look at what's in the paper every day, what are the decisions that are making the headlines in every local community are always around how you're handling growth and development. And it's really important to understand that that plan is your decision-making tool. It says what you want to do, how you want to do it, and what your principles are for your community for making those decisions. So I really lean on it as a planner. Of course, I really want to lean on that kind of foresight of thinking about the types of communities we want to have and how we're going to get ahead of laying those plans out, the infrastructure investments we're going to make, but also the opportunities in our established communities for reinvestment in our communities to make those areas better, to improve our housing stock, to improve our transportation, to improve our bike trails and other amenities too, that it isn't just a greenfield development opportunity, but also an opportunity to reinvest in all of our communities.
One thing I just wanted to say related to that is we're spending some time now trying to really define what and unpack this term. We were redoing our strategic plan for the next 3 years, and we did a member engagement survey, and growth was the #1 issue that everyone's cared about. But what does that mean? Yeah. What does growth mean in rural Anson County versus urban Charlotte versus a inner ring suburb? What are the true concerns? And trying to work really closely with our board and our leaders to define what that is, and then to correspondingly find what are the policy and planning levers that you need to kind of push and pull in order to shape that, because it looks really different. And I think we use this term growth as like a boogeyman without really truly understanding what it is and making it more accessible to our leaders and our elected officials and frankly our staff in our departments, to really figure out, like, you can get your arms around it if you really define it for your community.
So it's much more than commiseration or encouragement or about growth. It's what are the tools? What are the specifics?
Yeah, and then this is also the part of the presentation where we've decided William gets to ask one question. Instead of the 18 he gave us.
I have a whole stack of them right here. Yeah.
But it's a great conversation because Geraldine, you brought up something, and at least you as well. What is growth? And is growth the right word, or is it really change or something else? Because that 150,000 net a year doesn't tell the whole story. We can get hung up on some of that data. We actually have about 300,000 new people in the region each year. Some leave. And so the communities, while there may be that 150,000 net growth, there's change happening in our communities as well too. And if you look at growth in our region, it's almost a third, a third, a third. A third new births, a third domestic migration from other parts of the country, and then a third international. And it kind of nets out in that. But what does that mean, as far as change? It's not just more people, it's more traffic, it's changes in our freight movement, lots of that happening in our region as well too. And so we find different lenses to look at it.
What's really funny is we were having a conversation getting ready for this, and I was joking with them, as a good Ohioan, you'll be proud that I did this. I said, now you all can be on stage, but you can't recruit any Ohioans to move to your regions. Yeah. Do you know what they told me? I didn't know this. Our good friends at the state are advertising in their regions, telling people to move to Ohio.
Stop running ads. Between the political ads and the Come to Ohio ads, I can't watch television anymore.
So just know we're being really assertive.
Then again, a lot of my neighbors are from Ohio and Indiana and Michigan, so I think it washes out.
I told some folks I know that I was coming to Ohio. They're like, oh, Ohio, the safe place. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, haven't you seen the ads? They're like, wherever the disasters have been, we're the safe place. Come to Ohio.
I think we win in Minnesota for being
so. We got to work on that tagline. Oh gosh. Well, I want to turn the conversation about growth and sustainability to mobility and transit. And Lisa, I know I had a chance to visit the Twin Cities earlier this year for the planning conference. You all are doing so much with parks planning and trails, and we all are talking about adding another 500 miles to our trail system. And when we talked, you said, oh, we've done that. We're working on what's next. So what's next in this, and how does that fit into this growth picture?
Yeah, so we're celebrating our 50th anniversary of our regional parks and trail system this year. We actually just last week had a big celebration at our council and are really excited for that. But as a region, we are charged with planning for that, the recreation and open space needs of a growing region. And that's what our initial legislative direction was on that. And over the decades, as we've been working on this, really building off of the successes of Minneapolis and St. Paul, which continuously rank top 1 and 2. It's a nice inter-region rivalry to get those national accolades to see who's going to be a 1 or 2 in any given year on their bikes and trails networks within their communities. But building off that historic legacy portion of our system and building that out for the region has been something that we've been working on in partnership with the 10 regional parks implementing agencies who own and operate all of our parks and trails, but they also provide local city parks and they provide other opportunities as well. We hit the big stuff, the stuff that are the intercity opportunities, as well as the regional parks that are hundreds of acres in size. So we're also doing conservation along with the trails portion. And our trails aren't just transportation corridors. They're meant to be green space efforts. They're meant to be a place where people can get out of that mix and feel like they're connecting with nature in a different way and connecting to the regional parks all around the region that we have. So we have over 500 miles of regional trails open today, and we plan to, by 2050, have 1,500 miles of trails. It's a slow effort because we aren't in the condemnation world. It's willing seller only a kind of approach. But we've been working on a lot of our regional financial tools to help buy those properties and conserve that land. But it really does take that partnership and that vision from our local parks leaders as well as our local units of government who are championing those trails and really seeing that benefit that we have by having trails in sort of green fingers all around the region, but also in connection to our transit system, in connection to destinations that people want to go to, like the Twin Stadium, so you can ride your bike to the ballpark or over to the soccer stadium. Also, or hit the zoo in St. Paul, but also ride all the way out to a 500-acre park reserve.
Now I know this is something that we get so excited about because when we ask our communities who've implemented trails, what are their residents telling them? Their residents are telling them more trails, more connections, and so it's exciting to hear your momentum there. Now, Geraldine, you're not what we call a metropolitan planning organization, but you are deeply in this space with your Connect Beyond plan.
Yeah,
what are you working on?
We are chief mobility cat herders. So we have 4 MPOs in our region. We have 20 transit agencies. So we set out probably about 2-3 years ago to do a regional mobility vision plan. It was the top issue in our region, top issue related to growth. 54% increase of projected single daily car trips in our region was one of the major drivers of the need to do this plan, in addition to just the chaos of all these different organizations trying to do mobility and transportation planning. So Connect Beyond Regional Mobility Plan is our, it's by state. So we partnered with our 4 counties in South Carolina, 15 counties overall, about 4 million people to create this vision plan for the future and to try to think about how we can better integrate and align our systems for mobility planning. So we learned a lot from our regional growth planning work about how to do plan implementation better. So we've applied those lessons in this particular case, and we've kind of set on a couple of really big moves that we call them, and just have a ton of projects that we're trying to move forward. And I think our key to success for Connect Beyond is we're never going to change the system. We're never going to consolidate all the MPOs. We will probably get a regional transit authority maybe in my lifetime. We'll have to see. But how do you find that common thread of motivation and collaboration to get everyone moving on the same agenda? So that's really what we've been focusing on.
So forget about territories or organizational structures. You got to do the planning and collaboration now.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah. So I mean, we'll see. We just to we're following what you guys are doing. We're crossing our fingers and toes for your ballot initiative. We've got on the books already, our counties have the authorization to do a 1/4 cent sales tax, and only one of our 9 counties has done that for transit. So the political aspects of it are really challenging. And the other piece of it too is that our General Assembly has said that any request coming to them for increased taxing authority has to be a roads first approach. So it's really challenging when you've got this other level of government that is telling you the opposite of all of your plans. And we're interpreting roads as bike lanes and sidewalks, not just right of way.
It can all be used the same.
Yes, it is roadway.
Highways count too.
Yeah.
So Houston.
Yeah. So interesting you mentioned bike highways. So we're starting to shift the words that we use because they're a little more, we want them to be a little more appropriate to the cause. Instead of bike lane, we're starting to move to bike way, which can be part of the trail along the bayou. It can be through a neighborhood. It could be on a heavily traveled street. Houston, the Houston area, our biggest city, Houston, has seen an explosion in putting in bicycle infrastructure. And as in most places, when you first put it in, you put a lot of it in. There's a lot of controversy and stuff around it, but it's holding together pretty well. I'm a cyclist myself. I cycle a lot to work and back, and I have mixed feelings about some of it myself. But they're open to the way it's been designed and going forward. But the thing I'm most excited about in that area is how we're incorporating some of our natural systems, our bayous that flow through slow, murky rivers. Think of them that way, really slow, almost like not even flowing. Used to be walked away from as opposed to walked to or along, and now those have been developed into an amazing greenway system that you can also bike on to get where you need to go. And economic development around that has been phenomenal in an area that was blighted before and everything as well. So it's been amazing to see those resources come together. We tend to go from the walking and the biking and jump over it to new ideas of the future like air taxis. We tend to jump over the transit, the traditional transit part. We still don't have transit, light rail or anything to our airports in Houston. So keep chipping away at it, keep moving away at it. But that's kind of where we're at. So excited about the walkability stuff for sure and bikeability.
So sometimes one of the biggest things that we face in our region, because we have 4 seasons, each of them have their own exciting characteristics. We talk about walking and biking and transit, and sometimes people will tell us, no, people never do that here because it's too cold or because it's too hot and humid. Minneapolis, do you have thoughts on that? Houston, any thoughts? Is that a good argument?
I mean, we get cold, and we get really hot. And as a cyclist myself, and I'm not a good one. I'm not the one who's out there with the fancy bike or the electric bike or anything. I'm on my steady old $200 bike that I got like 15 years ago. And even I bike to work 9 miles when it's 30 degrees. And I'll bike in any weather unless it's snowing, because I'm not willing to buy snow tires for my bike. But I'm not the only one out there. We always say in Minnesota that there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. So just make sure you get yourself dressed for the weather and you're set. And you'll see us in Minnesota out in all weather at all times, even when we had smoke from the wildfires in Canada. We make poor decisions because we love the outdoors. So we're outside anyway, breathing in all that smoke and cycling or running. But you'll always see folks out in Minnesota in all weather conditions. And we've just embraced it because otherwise it's miserable to live in a place if you don't embrace the weather that you have.
Amen. Chuck, do you have thoughts on that? Yeah.
So 15 years ago, you would not see anybody biking or walking, but there's been a big change as the infrastructure's gotten better and as folks have just started doing it. And it's like you're living where you're living, you might as well go try and make this work. It does get cold occasionally in the Houston region. We've had some big ice storms and stuff come through. When I first moved there from the Rocky Mountains, I'm like, these folks are into vintage winter coats, man. They've got stuff from the 70s. And it's because they only wear it like once or twice a year. So it's good for life pretty much, right? So not so much on the cold, but the heat can be very oppressive. We are seeing longer periods of real intense heat and humidity, 100-degree base temperature, heat index gets up to 118 with 80% humidity, 90% humidity. So, you know, you're not biking in your suit, that's for sure, right? But it is something that you just, once you do it and kind of develop the habit and make it happen, it just really tends to go. And then the explosion in our area of e-bikes, of electric bikes, has opened up that type of mobility to people that we wouldn't see on traditional bike before. So we've seen a huge growth in that as well too. So.
Same, we've seen that e-bike explosion. We recently had our legislature provided some fundings for rebates for e-bikes, and the first day that the state opened the application for the e-bikes, the system crashed. There were so people who were looking to get that reimbursement. But you know, employers can do a lot too by providing that locker room space and shower space that make it easier for you to travel if you don't have an e-bike.
Yeah, without that, ooh, it would be rough.
So that really helps. And I know I won't be able to do it because I'll tell you I don't look like this after I ride miles in. But I think the other thing we've been thinking about too as part of our regional trail network is that we're also creating those spaces for stop-offs, for water, for shade, for stretching, for repairing your bike along some of those routes too. So you're not just left out, you know, 15 miles away from home and maybe 10 miles from the nearest city to figure out what am I going to do now that I have a flat tire or I'm so thirsty and I ran out of water. So really building that in as part of our trail network so that it does make it easier to get out and to get around and not to be worried about kind of finding yourself stranded.
And one thing that we're really starting to pay attention to have the walkability component be more successful is shade. So even though it's super hot, super humid, if you have some shade, it makes it a bit more bearable. So shade in those areas has been really critical. And then a number of our smaller outlying communities are quietly adopting their own trails plans and walkability plans because they see it as quality of life issues as well as mobility. And surprisingly, a lot of parks and walkable areas being designed for seniors because our aging population is really growing.
Now, I know being a sustainability conference, we can't go any further without talking about climate and resilience. And I know each of your regions are recognizing this is real. There's planning, yes, but also response. And Geraldine, I know that you all were lucky to avoid the worst of the hurricane that came through, but it's right next to your region. Yeah. And our hearts are just broken by what's happening in Western North Carolina. How is your region being connected to that? How have you been planning and thinking about this? What's it like?
Yeah, I was just up in near Asheville over the weekend, and it's the pictures just don't do it justice. It's really quite incredible and sad. And I think one of the challenges that we have in North Carolina is that the focus has been so much on our coastal regions as being the most vulnerable, and the resilience push has been focused on those areas. And in our region, we've been, for the last 3 years, been focused on something called the Regional Resilience Collaborative that has been working with our emergency managers to try to think about, you know, blue sky or pre-disaster recovery planning. And it was really hard to get the attention of our elected officials and our county and city managers. It was this is this fun little project that they got funding for, and isn't that cute? You know, we'll just put together these plans. And boy, if our phone isn't ringing now, like, wait, what was that thing you were doing? And can we get one of those plans? And how can we do that? Because I think seeing our neighbors go through just utter devastation and then realizing that you can't have a plan when you're responding to a disaster. You have to have the plan to recover already in place, and it's a whole of government, whole of community response. And to be able to pivot to that is, you know, that is where the resilience comes in. So we're hoping that we can get more attention on this issue and really build out those pre-disaster recovery plans and build the infrastructure at a regional scale for collaboration. And so, yeah, that's where we'll be focusing some more attention.
I think we all have a lot to learn from your efforts. And Chuck, I know that the Houston-Galveston area has experienced some really intense climate events. You've been right in the middle of it, but you've also been doing some planning.
Yeah, so lots of hurricanes in our region. Tend to get a big one that comes in with major devastation about every 5 years. And if you remember that growth number, about 300,000 new people is new in the region. So you always have new people each year coming in that haven't been through a hurricane, haven't been through an event like this or a major flooding event. So it's always an education component. Our biggest challenge we have is apathy, though, because we tend to pull together incredibly strong right after the event, right? Incredible community coming together, whether it was when Katrina hit New Orleans and we had 100,000 people arrive in Houston in one weekend. Most of them stayed. So our population saw a spike because of that. Coming together, working together to come through Harvey and everything else, super, super important. But memories can get kind of short. This year, though, we got hit twice in the same season, and we ended up without power for millions of people for a couple weeks each time, my home included. And for the first time, there's still that rallying, but we're starting to hear people say, you know what, maybe I should come to Ohio.
we are a safe place, I've heard.
And so now I say that was a big thing in our newspapers. Not so much businesses, but people, all of us, right? And so, and I think that's wherever you go, where you have these events, people are getting a little weary of some of that. So it's definitely something that we're watching. Our electric grid has become probably the biggest issue for us on that. When your power goes down for 2 weeks, and in the summertime, it can get kind of rough. So we're looking at that as a regional effort as well too. And then, what was the second part of the question?
What are you doing? You have an energy grid work?
Yes. So we have energy grid awareness there as well too. We also did some work a number of years ago, about the time we got the Sustainable Communities Grant, to look at, we wanted to call it our foresight panel on climate change, but our board wouldn't approve it. It was an issue for us. Those words were an issue. So we called it Foresight Panel on Environmental Effects, whatever that means. And it passed. Same work. We got it taken care of. But with a number of factors, because it was important that we keep moving and not get hung up on the nomenclature. But the biggest issue for us is more frequent hurricanes, which make us weary, and then that heat and humidity I mentioned being extended in the summertime to where it's just now starting to affect construction projects and other things as well too. So whether the cause is whatever it might be, we don't get caught up in that, but what can we do to keep our region sustainable and moving forward with that?
Yeah, well, and I know that equity is a big part of what you all are working on, and in the Twin Cities, you're working on your Thrive MSP 2040 plan. And that's climate, growth, equity. How are you thinking about all of these things, Lisa?
Yeah, I know folks don't often think about Minnesota when it comes to climate change, and we're like, you're right, sea level rise, not a problem. Right. If that's happening for us, we all have problems around the world. Not an issue though, but we do have more chronic issues where we either are in extended rain, where we have so much rain. Just earlier this year, if you can believe it, we had 35 inches of rain over the course of 2 months. That's our entire year's worth of rain. It just kept raining every single day. But over the last 10 years since adoption of Thrive MSP 2040, we've done a lot as a region to take that rain in the landscape. So we're absorbing it in areas, we're creating more green infrastructure, naturalizing more areas that used to just be open lawn, and making that just a part of our regular parks and transportation network. So it's a part of our landscape, and just recognizing that today. But one of our bigger issues is on the other side that really is something that we're grappling with, is increasing overnight temperatures in our winter months. And increasing, now this probably folks are like, well, who cares if it's warmer in the winter? Like, well, we care, we love winter. It is the center of our economy in those months, especially in northern Minnesota, where the entire economy is focused around that outdoor experience. And when you can't get out on snow, because there is no snow, this last winter, we had less than an inch of snow for 3 months. That's not us. The winter before, we had 97 inches of snow. So we're in this unpredictable weather pattern now, that because of climate change, that makes it really hard for us, for our economies to survive, which is very outdoor oriented and food based. So when we have those big changes, as I said earlier, we had tons of rain, and now we're actually in a drought. The last 37 days, we've had 0 rain in our entire metro area. 0, not even a trace. And that's been a huge issue for how do we plan now for the winter, knowing that our ground is super dried out and parched, and what's going to happen there. So on this end, we've been planning around resilience for a long time, and actually our engineering community has really led the charge in it because they've been seeing the impacts to our infrastructure every day. The heat events, we don't have the heat that Houston has by any means, but we do have extreme heat days that cause buckling in our light rail tracks and in our roads. The rain causes subsidence in our streets because we have loamy soils and they get wet and they like to wash away. So those are big issues that our infrastructure community has been raising alarm bells about for the last 15 years, even ahead of our regional plan. So really putting it down on the ground of like, this is what's happening today already has really made it easier for a lot of folks who are otherwise reticent to come to the conversation to say, yeah, we got to do something about that because that isn't okay. Like we put our money into that infrastructure and now we got to put more money and then we got to fix it again and fix it again. But on the equity side of that equation is that the folks who are most burdened with that are the folks who are the least able to deal with those changes every day. They're the folks who are living in older housing that doesn't have air conditioning because we didn't need it when our houses were built 100 years ago. You were lucky if we got a day over 90 in any given summer, and now we have 15 or 20 days over 90 with high humidity. So it becomes unbearable. Keeping our lakes healthy so that we can still go and bathe in them when it's hot like that and have those natural cooling off areas is part of that. But when we have these changing winter climates, that means it's not killing off the critters in the winter because it's not getting cold enough, which means we get algae in the summer, which means we can't go in the lakes in the summer. So it's kind of the circular effect that we need to recognize the interconnectedness of it, but also recognize that the most vulnerable members of our community are the least able to deal with those changes.
Chuck, we'll give you one more word, and then we got the last question.
That's okay. That's good. Go
Are you
ahead.
sure? Well, then we'll start with you. So they know I have about 15 more questions, but we only have about 3 more minutes. So this has been a great conversation. Let's finish with some advice for our crowd, because this is a difficult time. There's so much on our plates, and in growing regions, at the same time there's a climate emergency and all of these opportunities and challenges. There's a lot of stress out there. So what's your advice for Columbus, for Central Ohio, on how to stay encouraged, how to get ready for this? Chuck, what's your good advice?
Act, find something to do that creates a tangible benefit that aligns with your organization and what the region feels is important from sustainability. We have a lot going on in the Houston region, and one of the things that our board is most excited about is how we helped relocate a sewer plant for a tiny city on the edge of the lower Colorado River because it was about to fall into the river and cause problems for folks. We helped them find state and federal funding, helped them have some technical assistance, and we're relocating that, and it has been transformative for that community. And it sounds small compared to everything else we have going on, but people keep pointing to that and talking about that because it brought hope. It showed that we can be effective as an agency, that we listen, and that all of this sustainability conversation can mean different things to different people, but when you're saying this is how your community can be sustainable and grow into the future, then that makes a difference. So even if it's actually smaller stuff is better because you can get it done quicker, but find some key things that you can do to demonstrate that we're all moving together, we're all taking care of each other is the best thing I can offer.
Well said, well said. Geraldine?
I think that trust your regional planning frameworks, really lean into them, but also really lean into each other. I think what we're really trying to put a lot of focus on in our region is the peer-to-peer learning and building a community of practice, as Lisa said, not necessarily assuming that a solution in one community is going to work from yours in your community, but what's the inspiration you can take from how they solved a particular problem or a policy solution that might work with a different spin on it in your community. And so I think that's really important in using your organization to be a container for that. And then lastly, communication. It's been so important to us, similar to what Chuck just said, to tell the story of regional collaboration. it's such a big term. What does it mean? So like to put an actual story, how a community was helped as a result of having a framework plan or a service provided by this organization or an elected official talking to another elected official. I think that really motivates and kind of pushes a region forward when you're lifting up examples of success.
Thank you. Lisa, the last word.
I would say many hands make light work. There's a lot of challenges, and when we see them as separate and something that we have to tackle on our own, it's always going to be overwhelming and something that we're just not going to make movement on. But they are interconnected challenges. They're not something that is not just a transportation. It's not just a climate issue. It's not just an equity issue. That they're all related to each other. And the way that we eat that elephant is one bite at a time. Yep. And that we all have to help do that. And we all play a different role. Some folks can do and really lead the charge and innovate because they've got the capacity and the time and the space to do that. And in other places, regional agencies like mine spend more time helping them get up and get started in that work. So really thinking about the roles that we can play to help the innovators go faster and to bring the other folks along with the less capacity is really where we I think have the most success.
It has meant so much for the three of you to be here. We're inspired by what your work is doing. We have a lot to learn, a lot to maybe steal. I think we all enjoyed and got a lot out of this conversation. Let's give them a round of applause.